Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor at Madison365 with your daily update for Monday, March 1st. It is March 2021. March is, as you know, March last year is when all the wheels fell off and things went really sideways, and we're approaching a year anniversary of all that. And I hope you're doing okay. We're getting by, right? Things are a lot different than they were at this time last year. I wasn't doing a daily show. We didn't have any podcasts. We had just a nice little modest nonprofit news organization that was not dedicated to health statistics every day. But here we are. And we're happy to have managed to help to try to keep you informed over this past wild years. I will. First, though, I have to start with the good news that it is Metcalfe's Monday. Metcalfe's is a fourth-generation family-owned and operated market with stores at Hilldale and behind Westtown Mall in Madison and in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. Their sustainable seafood selection is unlike any other in town, with fresh deliveries coming in 6 days a week. And because they care about your health, you can order for pickup or delivery at shopmetcalfes.com anytime. And we appreciate Metcalfe's Markets and their support of Madison365. Now, to the good news. The coronavirus numbers today look pretty good. Over the weekend, they've been pretty steady. We had about 1,600 new cases, or about 1,200 new cases over Saturday and Sunday. About 600 each, a little more than 600 each day. Today, only 308. Now, grain of salt on that is that it's a Monday. There's lower testing. But even with lower testing, the positive test rate just for today is under 10%, which is good. That number is normally higher, normally at least like 15 or 17%. So about 3,100 tests today. Now it's not all the tests that have been done today. Those are just the new results, either the first time negative test or first time positive tests. So that includes some people who have been tested before, but are just tested positive for the first time. It also does not include people who are getting tested for the second or third or 100th time. Okay. That 3,100 new tests is just new tests, but of those 308 are positive. So that particular number doesn't mean a lot, but 308, like I don't even have, my spreadsheet goes back like 3 months. I don't have anything lower than 308 on my spreadsheet. That's the lowest we've seen in a long time. And that lowers our daily average down to 610. I misspoke a minute ago. I'm sorry. There were 1,200 cases from Friday into Saturday. About 1,300 actually. Sunday was 464 yesterday and 308 today. I was off a day by mine. I'm sorry about that. But the other piece of good news, two more pieces of really good news, several more pieces of good news, but the two on these numbers is the positive test rate for 7 days is still 2.2. The last time we were lower than that was March 10th of last year. March 10th of last year, we had one new case, 18 negative tests, and a positive test rate for 7 days of 1.7%. So we're not quite at that one new case place yet. We're still 308 new cases, but that positive test rate is the lowest we've seen in a long time. Remember, I've been saying for months we try to get that down to 3%, and it's 2.2%. Now, it's been under 3% for going on 2 weeks, which is great news. The other piece of good news today, no new fatalities reported for the second consecutive day. Again, that's because it's a Monday, right? Those deaths that are reported every day are deaths that were confirmed that day. That probably happened weeks ago. It just takes that long to get them entered into the database and get the death certificate confirmed and all that. It's just a long time process to get it 100% confirmed as a COVID fatality, right? Still, and that processing doesn't happen on the weekends as much. So Sundays and Mondays death tolls have been lower, but there have been, for the past many months, there have been always at least a few on Sundays and Mondays. We'll have 5 or 10. So to have 0 2 days in a row is good. And that mirrors the same thing that happened last week. We had a 0 on a Sunday and 0 on a Monday, and then 33 on Tuesday. So, we'll report some more fatalities tomorrow, I'm sure. But still, you get 2 days in a row with none. That's pretty unmitigated, decent news. Where are we at here? The active cases is at 7,400, which is really good. That's 1.3% of all the cases we've ever had are currently active. Just a little bit of history on that number and why I'm happy about it. When the state first started reporting that number back in June, early June, they first started adding that to the dashboard. Again, these are cases. It's not a perfect measure of active cases. It's cases diagnosed in the past 30 days. And we know there are some people who get sick and are pretty much resolved in a week or two. And there are some people who are sick longer than 30 days. But for the most part, it's a general estimate of active cases are those that have been diagnosed in the past 30 days. And when that number first started getting reported, it was like 6,600. And then it went down to 4,400 over the course of a couple weeks. And mid-June, late June is when things started to turn. And it started to go back up, along with all the other numbers through July, August, September. We knew what happened after that. At the peak, it was like 79,000 currently active cases. 22% of all cases ever were currently active at that moment. That's back in November. So to see that number also turn around and come all the way back down almost to where it was in June, that's great. Now, a lot of these numbers are looking like they looked in June. And we know what happened after June, when we all let our guard down. We relaxed, and things started to go back up. So that's my sort of admonishment. Like, everything's looking good. We have good news today. Feel good about that. But until we get 80% of the population vaccinated, it's on us to keep it there. We want to be below 3% on the positive test rate and want to stay there for an extended period of time. If we stay at 3% for an extended period of time, that's an indication that we have things under control and we can start to relax some restrictions. We can't go back to normal yet. There's still enough virus out there that if we kind of just let everything go and go back to normal, things will take a turn, especially with the new variants that are more contagious, right? So let's talk about vaccinations for a second. This is also accelerating. That's the best news. We have about 6,000 new people today who've completed the vaccine. That's on the low side because it's a Monday. All the numbers are low on Mondays. Yesterday, even from Saturday to Sunday, we had like 16,000. On Friday into Saturday, we had 25,000. So now we are, probably tomorrow, we will pass 500,000 people fully vaccinated. It's at 492,000 right now. 912,000 people have gotten at least one dose, which means there's about 300,000 people who've gotten one and are waiting for the second. So that's good. We got 1.4 million doses have been administered. Now, we don't have any of the Johnson & Johnson yet. Those are just being shipped now. That's the one-dose vaccine. There's some talk that even these other 2-dose vaccines we could probably get away with just one dose, but they were tested as 2-dose vaccines, and that's how they're being administered. But what that means is 8.4% of the population is fully vaccinated. Again, we need to get that to 80. It's taken us about 2 months to get to 8.4%. So that means if we keep it at that pace, it'll take us like 20 months to get fully vaccinated, which is why it's good news that things are accelerating, that we're not going to stay at this pace for 2 years. We're going to ramp it up so we'll start to have 20,000 a day, 30,000 a day, 40,000 a day, and get to 80% within a few months. Now, I talked on Friday a little bit about this map that the state put out on Friday, where you can click on your location and see where, what stores or healthcare providers have vaccine available. And we found that it was riddled with errors. There were several school districts that were listed as vaccine locations that shouldn't have been. We do know that the Public Health Madison-Dane County had intended to begin vaccinating teachers today, and that's not happening. PHMDC just didn't have enough supply. SSM Health is vaccinating teachers in Wanakee and Sun Prairie. We're looking into that and how that's possible. But also Walgreens and I think CVS also. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, if anybody knows. But they're getting vaccines directly from the federal government, which means anything that you hear about DHS, that the state, the health service department, or PHMDC, or your local county health department, any numbers you hear about, any shortages of vaccine you hear about through your county or your state, don't apply to Walgreens. Which means if you are eligible, which right now includes anybody over 65, certain frontline workers, and now just as of today, teachers, you should, if you're eligible, you will know. Like if you're not sure if you're eligible, you're probably not. Okay, but if you're eligible, you can go to walgreens.com/schedule vaccine and schedule yourself for a vaccine. What you do is you put in your zip code, and it'll tell you whether or not there are any vaccines available within 25 miles of you for the next 3 days. They're only doing appointments 3 days out. So if you do that, and it says you have their appointments available, you have to demonstrate why you're eligible, or what group you're in to be eligible, and you can make an appointment. I would urge you to do that. Do not, there's no reason that if you're eligible, you don't have to wait for your county health department. Right? It's confusing. It would be a hell of a lot easier if this was more centralized, but it's not. So watch for your local community testing site or your community vaccine sites, federal or state or whatever, or just go to Walgreens and try to get an appointment. All right. Is there anything else today to talk about with regards to coronavirus? I don't think so. I think we are. That's pretty much the bulk of the coronavirus news. We have other fun news for you. This is interesting. I went on just to check last night, and in where I am, I'm at Mount Horeb, which is Western Dane County. Yesterday, late afternoon, I'm not eligible yet. I just went on just to see if there were appointments available, and there were. So I think it probably depends a little bit on your vacation, on your location. So I'm sorry to hear that you had trouble. But I think because they're 3 days out, I wonder if you get on if people are getting on first thing in the morning, snatching up all the appointments for 3 days from now, within 25 miles of wherever you are. So I'm sure it does. It's not available for everything. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard about this. That's not what I saw when I did it, but that might have changed, or maybe I might not be considered Madison area out here in Mount Horeb. I don't know. But it is true that generally speaking, priority is being given to second shots. Like they're trying to get more people finished off rather than give everybody a first shot and then start over and get everybody a second shot. They're just trying to get as many people done with both shots as they can, which I think makes some amount of sense. Okay, so I appreciate the feedback on the Walgreens stuff. Yes, this is true. I think if you there is an option for essential frontline workers, I think that's what I would choose, because it's a national chain. It's a national store. It's not a Wisconsin specific website. Like it's the form is the same form for all Walgreens everywhere. So if you choose frontline worker or essential worker or whatever the wording is, I think childcare workers and teachers would be included in that. I would imagine. Try it anyway. Don't take my word for it. Give it a try and see what happens. But I appreciate your everybody's feedback. Stay with us. We have some fun stuff to talk about on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right. Okay, thanks for staying with us. If you watched the Golden Globes last night, I'm going to be a film critic for a minute because I love this movie so much, and I want to. This is not a paid endorsement of the movie by any stretch. No major motion picture studios have sponsored this podcast. I promise. But Minari won for Best Foreign Language Film, which is absurd because it's an American movie. The director is American. The cast is mostly American. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you know Stephen Yeun. That's where I know him from. But the thing is, we talked a little bit about this on the podcast this morning also. If you listen to It's Only 10 Minutes, you can get some more thoughts on this film. Stephanie's my co-host and my wife is smarter talking about these things than I am, but it's a really beautiful sort of American dream story, but not the typical like rags to riches type of American dream. It's like a family trying to get by story. And it's A24 and Plan B Pictures, which also are the production companies behind Moonlight, which is also one of my favorite movies. And Moonlight's about, blackness and black community. And this one's about a Korean family. And what's interesting is that in both of those things, you're kind of waiting for the racist thing to happen, for the white people to come in and make it bad somehow. And that doesn't happen. It's like these people this family is like settling in Arkansas, having moved from California. They're not immigrating straight from Korea either. They're like moving from California to Arkansas, and it's and so like whiteness and being part of a white community is kind of part of the movie, but that's not the focus. It's not like Green Book or Driving Miss Daisy or Crash or one of those other sort of movies about race where it's kind of centered on the white people and how the white people are interacting with the minority people. This is just about this Korean family. And that's really refreshing. And it's a very, very good movie, and you should watch it. It's available for rent right now, a video on demand. It was supposed to be like released in theaters. Obviously, that's not happening. But I would hope that it gets a nomination and maybe even wins Best Picture, as Parasite did last year. Okay. So that's my plug for your movie entertainment for the weekend, maybe. Rudy Bankston was the guest on Black Oxygen today. He's a consultant and speaker and talks a lot about the school to prison pipeline, which he survived. He's been a consultant with the school district. We talked to him about a couple of years ago. We did a whole video series about Black excellence for Madison Metro School District, and he was one of the people that did that. He's a restorative justice guy, very smart guy, very insightful, and somebody you should listen to. Just wherever you get your podcasts, just search for Black Oxygen, and Rudy Bankston is a great guy to listen to. Michael Vang. If you are a Fort Madison fan, you know about the Vang train. Michael Vang is the first ever in history Hmong American professional soccer player. He's from the Twin Cities, and he signed with Madison last year after playing a year in Portugal. He was the leading scorer. He played in 13 games, scored 4 goals, and he is today beginning his training with Chicago Fire of Major League Soccer. He's on contract with Madison. He'll play for Madison this season, but he's taking the preseason with Chicago. He's only 20. He's got a lot of time left. But Chicago Fire has an affiliation with Madison. And so there's, Madison will get players on loan from Chicago, young players. And conversely, 4 Madison players can get an invitation to train with the big club in Chicago. And there's a chance that he can make the roster and do some minutes. There's been a couple of guys like Ricardo Pepi, for example, from North Texas, who also signed with Dallas, FC Dallas, and played on both clubs over the course of the season a couple years ago. So that's a possibility. It's a very, very big opportunity for Michael, and it'll be exciting. It's at least a 2 week trial. And then if, they could keep him on for a while after that, or they could send him back to Madison. But I'm going to see if I can, if he's not too busy and not too caught up in it, I'll check in with him about a week from now. He was good enough to talk to me last night for a bit. So I've got some quotes from him in the article on Madison365.org right now. Another big announcement today. This is a stock photo, as you can probably tell, because it's I'm promoting an event that we've never done before. It's never happened before, so we don't have any photos from the last one. So that when that happens, you get a stock photo. The registration is now open for the Men's Leadership Summit. The Wisconsin Leadership Summit has happened every year in October. First year was in Wisconsin Dells. 2 years ago was in Madison. Last year it was online. And coming out of that, what we heard from people was we want specific conferences, summits, conversations, learning opportunities for men and for women of color, because they face different pressures, different obstacles, different goals, whatever. So April 14th and 15th is the first men's summit. The women's summit will be in June. We're still working on locking down dates for that. They're all going to be online. It's not like we're not trying to find a venue. It's just dates for people who are available. We're going to be announcing some moderators and panelists over the next few days, some pretty big names that you'll be kind of impressed with, I hope. But registration is open now. It's $49 for the 2-day summit. That's the full price. If you're a nonprofit employee or a government employee, it's $39, and if you're a student, it's $19. I think we're going to try to have Henry Sanders, our CEO, on the show in the next couple of days, just to kind of talk through what it is exactly that we're going to be doing at that summit. It'll be pretty cool. I think it'll be a good thing. And finally today, this weekend, I should say a week from today, is International Women's Day. And Africade is this local organization that has an annual International Women's Day celebration. And Emily Songolo organizes it, and she spoke with Dave Dahmer, our editor-in-chief. So this is the 8th annual Madison International Women's Day celebration. It's going to be online, and it's going to be specifically it's going to lean right into this pandemic, about the role women and girls have played in helping us all get through this together, right? Should be a really good event. It always is a fun event. And by the way, if you go look at that story that's on Madison365.org today, so many photos from previous events will really make you want to have events in person again. It just looks like so much fun to be with people and people who are having a joyful occasion. You know what I mean? So that story also is then on Madison365.org, including registration details if you want to be part of that International Women's Day celebration, which is going to be Saturday, March 6th. All right, that is the news for today. One favor I would ask of you, if you've stuck with us this long, if you've sat with me for the last 25 minutes, that means you know that this kind of news is really important, right? So 2 things I want you to do. Number 1, share. Hit the share button on this. Get more people to see this video. Get more people to watch this news program. Metcalfe's obviously has been a great sponsor. We're going to be announcing more sponsors in the future. And those sponsors are supporting us to help us bring you this for free. And the more people we can bring on as regular viewers, the more sponsors we can get and the more value we can deliver to those sponsors. You know what I mean? So the more support we can have to keep this going and to keep expanding it and to keep it free. for everybody. But the second thing you can do to help keep it free is just to donate yourself. Madison365.org/donate. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Every donation is tax deductible. And we decided 5 years ago when we started, we're never going to charge for the news. We think everybody needs to be informed, not just the people who can afford it or who can afford to subscribe to the paper or whatever. So if you got $5 extra, throw it our way. Madison365.org/donate. Appreciate your attention. Get out and enjoy this beautiful sunshine. We'll be back tomorrow with it's only 10 minutes in the morning. I'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Until then, have a great night.
This is 365 Media.